Hi, and welcome to 6476 Stories for 7 a.m. because there's a famine of truth in our land. And this is your quick news fix, and the truth starts now. All right, so take one: autism linked to Tylenol. Last Friday, Bobby Kennedy Jr., Secretary of HHS, Health and Human Services, determined that he is going to come out with proof that there's a link between autism and the use of Tylenol by pregnant women. I checked with AI. AI says there's no clear evidence. Check with the American College of Obstetricians and Gynecologists, and they say Tylenol is a safe option for pain and fever relief during pregnancy. The Journal of American Medicine, JAMA, says no link between acetaminophen and pregnancy. And the FDA says there's just not enough evidence. And a study at Mount Sinai says there might be a link between the two. And the National Institute of Health says no evidence. And a Harvard study says maybe. It's unbelievable. So is that enough double messaging for everybody so that if you're a pregnant woman and you're having pain, you don't know what to do? In a study published by JAMA Psychiatry in 2020, several physicians found a link between in utero acetaminophen exposure and the risk of autism spectrum disorder. The study considered a cohort of 996 mother infant pairs. It found that Tylenol exposure during gestation was associated with significantly increased risks. Did anyone hear that? Significantly increased risk of childhood attention deficit hyperactivity disorder, or ADHD, and autism spectrum disorder. The final results showed a statistically significant correlation between Tylenol exposure and autism. Of the 996 participants, the final sample included the following: 257 children with ADHD only, 66 with autism only, 42 with ADHD and autism, 304 with other developmental disorders, and 327 who did not have ADHD or autism. The U.S. Food and Drug Administration has also expressed concern about the possible link between Tylenol and autism. In a 2015 FDA safety announcement addressed several studies suggesting a link between Tylenol and autism and informed parents of the medication's potential risks. However, it also made clear that competing evidence called this link into doubt. The FDA continued its previous guidance on Tylenol use during pregnancy. So you see what you're getting there, right? You're getting that it's big drug companies can affect. If one study comes out, they'll have a counter study. So if you're the consumer, you're constantly getting this double message. So here's what I think. I think that Bobby Kennedy, if you saw what was going on Capitol Hill with the attack that was leveled at him, and all weekend, just everything. They were after DeSantis about no vaccines, and they were all over Bobby Kennedy. He would not have made this announcement if he didn't have the goods. He wouldn't do it on a lark, okay? And he has been working to put together his own labs and staff them and his own research center. And it's because Big Pharma has compromised all these other entities. So I believe that he's going to be coming out this month with a rock hard study that is saying Tylenol is what has been causing all of this autism. So that's take one. Let's go to take two. Some good news on mortgage rates. There's a mortgage rate drop, the biggest one-day drop in over 1 year on 30-year fixed rate mortgages from 7.08 to 6.29. That's the lowest rate since October 3rd of 2024. We should see rates in the high 5% in that range before the end of September, early October. This is if the Fed cooperates. Jerome, somebody's got him. He's just not cooperating when the rest of the planet is moving one way, and he continues to say, Trump's tariffs, Trump's tariffs. Yeah, Trump's tariffs are working. Okay, so you need to do your job and lower the rate. This is a big deal for buyers fighting to qualify for mortgages. On a $450,000 purchase with a 20% down, at 7%, the payment would be around $2,395 a month. At a dropped rate of 6.29, which just happened, the monthly payment drops to $2,226. So that's $169 less. But if we get to 5.75%, then that payment is $2,100 a month. So housing prices are still too high. But buyers, to get motivated, need to see a 5 in front of that 30-year rate. And if they see that, then they'll start getting off the couch, going out and looking, and maybe even filling out mortgage applications, which have been in a steady drop, down 6.6% in this last month. So rents are up. If you want 3 or 4 bedrooms, you're going to pay well over these mortgage rates. So it's about the price and it's about the rate drop. And so people are going to have to get real about what they can get for their house. That's not going to happen without demand. And we have this ridiculous situation where there's no demand and some people are raising the price on their house. So you can't make it up. It's just a bad situation. But it can be fixed. But there are political interests that don't want to see it get fixed. The whole left does not want Jerome to move the rate down. And this next story is going to explain what the future of the Fed is going to be, I believe. And I think it's going to be a short future. So take 3, Bison and Trump play good cop, bad cop with the Fed. Treasury Secretary Scott Bison, the good cop, wrote an op-ed Friday in the Wall Street Journal stating that the Fed should change course. He doesn't say stuff like that, right? This is bold for an even-handed guy like that. The Fed should change course. Its standard toolkit has become too complex to manage with uncertain theoretical underpinnings. He's saying that huge research branch you got is not serving anybody's best interest. So here's what Bison said in the Wall Street Journal article. Simple and measurable tools aimed at a narrow mandate is the clearest way to deliver better outcomes and safeguard central bank independence over time. Repeated misses demonstrate that the Fed placed too much faith in its own abilities in expansionary fiscal policy to spur growth. Keynesian nonsense. The government can be the engine of the economy. No, it can't. And when the Trump administration shifted toward tax cuts and deregulations, the Fed's forecasts were too pessimistic, underscoring its reliance on flawed models and neglect of supply side effects. The Fed missed the whole opportunity here. And the whole mainstream media was saying, oh, Trump's going to destroy the global economy. He's going to destroy the American economy. None of that stuff happened. All of his numbers have exceeded what they were predicting. And the Fed has just sat there and not done anything in accord with that. At the heart of independence lies credibility and political legitimacy. Both have been jeopardized by the Fed's expansion beyond its mandate. In other words, it's getting involved in too many other things that it was never meant to do. Bison says, looking ahead, the Fed must scale back the distortions it causes in the economy. Unconventional policies such as quantitative easing should be used only in true emergencies, in coordination with the rest of the federal government, not dear Aunt Janet running the printing press over at the Mint 24/7. Besant called for an overhaul. There must also be an honest, independent, nonpartisan review of the entire institution, including monetary policy, regulation, communications, staffing, and research. He's saying, take this thing down and rebuild it brick by brick. It's that messed up. It's that politically infected. All right. Meanwhile, bad Trump is calling Jerome Too Late Powell too late on lowering rates once again, which would have lit a fire under the economy. Bad cop also fired a Fed governor for lying on mortgage applications. First time in U.S. history that's happened. And it looks like there was another Fed governor who quietly resigned last month because she was doing the same thing, not with three primary properties, but with two primary properties. You can't make this stuff up. All right, this is take four, the Department of War. Okay, so Trump is going to restore the Department of War. President Donald J. Trump signed an executive order to restore the historic name Department of War as a secondary title for the Department of Defense. This is his 200th executive order since he's taken office. The order authorizes the Secretary of Defense, the Department of Defense, and subordinate officials to use secondary titles such as Secretary of War, Department of War, and Deputy Secretary of War. So Pete Hegseth is now the Secretary of War in official correspondence, public communications, ceremonial contexts, and non-statutory documents within the executive branch. The order directs all executive departments and agencies to recognize and accommodate these secondary titles in internal and external communications. The order instructs the Secretary of War to recommend actions to include legislative and executive actions required to permanently rename the U.S. Department of Defense to the U.S. Department of War, right? This is the thing that the libs do every time they get in power. They change language, and there's power to language, and they keep repeating it. And Trump is doing exactly what they do. Department of Defense, that's a passive, cowering presence in that title. He's saying, no, we're the Department of War. Did you see what we did to Iran? Did you see the efficiency of all of that? Everybody better take notice. All right. So he goes, projecting strength and resolve. The United States military is the strongest and most lethal fighting force in the world, and the president believes this department should have a name that reflects its unmatched power and readiness to protect national interests. The Department of War, established in 1789, led the U.S. to victory in the War of 1812, in World War I, World War II, inspiring confidence in America's military strength. And on January 8, 1790, President George Washington, in his first annual address to Congress stated to be prepared for war is one of the most effective means of preserving peace. Our founders knew that projecting strength would be the best way to ensure that we would rarely need to use it. The name Department of War conveys a stronger message of readiness and resolve compared to the Department of Defense, which emphasizes only defensive capabilities. Restoring the name Department of War will sharpen the focus of this department on our national interest and signal to adversaries America's readiness to wage war to secure its interests. You hearing that, China? You're hearing that, Venezuela? You're hearing that, North Korea? We're getting ready. All right, take 5. I want you to meet Warthog, a new AI robot. You ever been in a bar and heard a bunch of blue collar guys saying, AI can't take my job? Well, meet Warthog, a 4x4 robot herding cattle in Wyoming. Warthog comes complete with spotlights, cameras, sensors, computers. Warthog collects data 24/7 on the cattle, the weather, and the growth of the grass in the pastures, and slowly moving the cattle to areas where the best growth is so that they're gaining weight at optimum speed. The cattle, including young calves, are extremely calm around this robot 4x4. A rancher working with a 6-inch drone and a phone app can monitor and inspect all his cattle without leaving his desk. The drone cameras can spot lameness in animals and target them. So all of this is AI and technology coming to what has been cowboy work, right? But I don't know how much longer we're going to have cowboys. Robots are being used to feed cattle in barn feeding situations. It monitors how much they're eating and physically delivers the food and makes sure that it's easy for the cattle to get to. And now PETA, the People for the Ethical Treatment of Animals, is offering to help fund the development of a robot bison to replace the real bison used at football games for the University of Colorado at Boulder, because they believe that animal's being tormented by all of that. So it's all coming. Man, is it coming fast. 25 years ago, people thought email was dangerous. Okay. There's great uses for this, but wow, that group in Silicon Valley, they got bad plans for us. All right. If you check the job numbers, they went down. Okay. They went down at a time when Trump's increased 41,000 manufacturing jobs because people who are handling phone sales and everything, they're just off the payroll now because AI can do all those jobs. So it's going to be rough times that way. All right, take 6. The Arab police patch. This is an arms study. It's a group study this time. Arms means the Advanced Reprobate Mind Studies. And that takes us to a group study with the police department at Dearborn Heights, Michigan. This is an article by Misty Severi from Just the News, along with some additional riffing. Michigan's Dearborn Heights Police Department is issuing a police patch that includes both English and Arabic text that is optional for officers. It's so reasonable. The department announced the patch Wednesday. It has Michigan State seal and features the words Dearborn Heights and police in both languages. The patch was designed by local police officer Emily Murdoch. The Middle Eastern and Northern African population of Dearborn Heights was 39% of the population in 2023. The news outlet also says that this patch is the first such patch in the United States. The Dearborn Heights Police Department is proud to share a new optional patch that our officers may wear as part of their uniform. This patch was created by Emily Murdoch. She's an officer who designed it to reflect and honor the diversity of our community, especially the many residents of Arabic descent who call Dearborn Heights home. The department continued by incorporating Arabic script alongside English. This patch represents unity, respect, and our shared commitment to service. What's their shared commitment to service? Okay. What this doesn't reflect is the fact that they have no intention of assimilating into American culture. Okay. That's why you're including this on the patch, because you're simps and you don't realize what's coming. And you pay no attention to what's going on in London, where there's going to be a Muslim prime minister fairly soon. And that England will be lost when that happens. And Germany's on its way, and France is following. Okay. There's no one paying attention over here in the United States. We don't learn by watching what's going on everywhere else. No, we're all about more diversity and equity. Okay. The department also said the new design is another example of the way the department can celebrate the rich cultures that make our city unique. Guess what? Same thing's going on in Houston, right? They're letting 800 acres be turned into a Muslim city with Sharia law. Okay? So that was announced. Nobody's protesting it over in Texas. Texas is going from purple to blue, and nobody's paying attention to it. And now, this week, the holy men, the Muslim holy men, are going from grocery to convenience store and telling them that they would be well advised to stop selling alcohol and pork products because these are offensive to the Muslim faith. And if they don't stop selling them, then they're going to start protesting and boycotting their businesses. So if you don't think this is coming, just like it is in London and all over the EU, where all of this wonderful diversity and blah, blah, blah. No, they have one plan. Keep coming, keep reproducing, and then control the vote and take over. And we are stupidly just staring right down the barrel of it and not doing anything. Okay? So pay attention. You know what the truth is. We're trying to turn this thing around at the same time that people are taking the foundation out from under us. Yeah, I'm upset about this stuff. And it just keeps coming. And so the best thing we can do is be praying to God that He will intervene. So I want you to intervene. I want you to share us. I want you to like us. I want you to get us out to your networks of people. I want you to make comments. But most of all, it's Monday. Okay. This is a real Monday, not like last week. It's not a holiday Monday. It is a time to start working and getting back into it. We're kicking off September. So I'm just going to leave it at this. Do your best, do it creatively. Know that there are going to be things that get in your way. If I told you what got in my way tonight, you know what? Put out that one thing with the teleprompter on Friday. It went gloriously. You know, everyone's so excited. Came in here, man, the thing mutinied on me. It, no matter how fast I made the script run, it would not run. Talking like this because the words don't move. So I had to abandon the thing. I did half a show like I was on Quaaludes. Now, doing it the regular way, but you're not going to see my face, which is probably good because I'm half pissed. That's okay. It's Monday. It's okay to be pissed. It's okay to be challenged. It's okay for things not to go right. You just have to get up and do it again or find another way. Okay? That's the plan. And if you do, and if you do it with a better attitude than me, God is going to bless you. So I'm going to ask him, even though I missed it due to my bad attitude, I want the Lord God Almighty, the omniscient creator of the universe, to put his hand over each and every one of you, and God bless you, and he will. I'm going to go beat my head against the wall.